Thank you.
Make sure that is on too. Tape.
I got mine on.
All right.
Sure?
Yep.
All right, we're set?
Hello. Hello.
We're ready whenever you are, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, we're ready? Okay. I'll call them, wait, not yet. Okay. I'm going to call the meeting to order of the March 14th meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Okay, John Hott,
Here.
Daryl,
Here.
John Everett.
Here.
Am I calling Mark or?
No.
Okay, and Chairman.
Here. Okay, Rachel or Harley, did we receive any comments or questions from the public from since our last meeting?
I've received none, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, since we have none, I will call the regular meeting to order. Rachel has sent to us the February 14th, 2022 meeting minutes. As the board reviewed them, and if there are any changes or edits needed for that meeting, we will entertain that. Hearing no proposed changes to the minutes as mailed, entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Darrell made a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
John has seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Okay, John Hott,
Yes.
John Everett,
Yes.
Daryl,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay. We have a public hearing. We have two of them. First public hearing is on case 2022-005 ZC, Zoning Commission alternates. Amendment to the text of the Paynesville Township zoning resolution initiated by the Zoning Commission. Request proposed to amend section 801 to allow up to 2 alternate members of the Zoning Commission with 5-year terms. Staff report, staff, please. Any report on this? Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So we had recognized a shortcoming within our zoning resolution. We noticed the need for an alternate on our zoning commission. However, within our zoning resolution, we did not provide for ourselves to be able to have an alternate. And per ORC section, which I would read to you, but apparently I don't have right in front of me, but per ORC, Ohio Revised Code, we are permitted up to 2 alternates with varying terms chosen by the commission for up to 5 years. So we have decided to allow ourselves up to 2 alternates for 5-year terms.
Okay. So this would be what we're doing right now is amending the zoning regulations. And I see no one in the audience. So any discussion from what you heard from the members to ask Harley? Any questions about this?
Just wanted to know,
Good, Darrell.
the alternates will be able to vote if we haven't understood the conversation before the meeting.
From what I understand, the alternate will be required to come to the meetings, and they will be able to vote if one of the regular members
That's what I meant.
does not attend that particular meeting. They
That's what I
can,
thought it was, but I wanted to make sure.
yeah, they can, the alternate can join in the discussion on a case or site plan review. They can ask questions to the applicant or ask questions, to staff. But as far as voting is concerned, if we have all 5 members present, they do not vote. If we don't have all 5 members present, they would go into that one spot that, and be there and vote at that time. The only time they would vote would be if we had a member not present. So, any other questions or discussion for the staff for case 2205? Hearing none, entertain a motion to either continue the public hearing or close the public hearing. If we close the public hearing, we have 30 days in which to make a decision and recommendation to the trustees. If we continue the public hearing, we'll continue this public hearing, not close it, and we'll continue it to the April 11th meeting.
I'll make a motion to close.
Okay, I have a motion on the board.
Second.
Motion to close the public hearing. John made the motion, Daryl seconded it. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Okay, John Hott,
Yes.
Daryl,
Yes.
John Everett,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay, we have a public hearing closed. Now open up public hearing for 22006. Board of Zoning Appeals alternates. This is an amendment, text amendment that has been initiated by us, Zoning Commission. It proposes to amend section 903B, changing the Board of Zoning Appeals alternate member term limits from 1 to 5 years. Staff?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So while we were noticing this deficiency within our resolution as it relates to zoning commission alternates, we had realized that our Board of Zoning Appeals alternate was only able to be appointed for one-year terms, which the trustees misunderstood as being 5-year terms. So in order to correct that and have it match the expectation of the trustees as well as the Board of Zoning Appeals, we're changing the language within the zoning resolution to match that from 1-year terms to 5-year terms.
Okay.
I have one question on that, though.
Go ahead, Jim.
That actually applies to both of these. When the trustees were discussing this, or I presume they've already discussed it, did they realize that 5-year could overlap into somebody else's term if they were not reelected?
Yes.
And they're not bothered by that in any way or anything?
No, Dale is the alternate on the Board of Zoning Appeals, and he's been the alternate for nearly as long as Tom Hall has been the chair for Board of Zoning Appeals. So he's been a pretty permanent staple himself.
Yeah.
But no, they didn't have any.
I don't know of any problems that you can see in the future coming up, but I just wondered if they actually realized that when they were discussing it, so. But, that's all the only question I have, so.
Any other questions?
Uh,
You good, Daryl?
Yeah. I heard a couple of things mentioned around, I want to just clarify in my mind. Are these 1-year terms or 5-year terms?
For the previous case was 5-year
No,
terms.
this case.
And this case here, they're going from, they used to have a 1-year term for the zoning of appeals.
Mhm.
Now they want to change that from 1 to 5.
Okay. And that's the only thing we're really changing?
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure I know what I'm doing.
No problem. I can do that, I gotta sit back and think myself. All right, okay. Any other questions for staff or for the Jeremy? If not, I will entertain a motion that we can either close the public hearing and render a recommendation to the trustees within 30 days, or we can continue the public hearing and continue it for the April 14th meeting. What is the board's pleasure?
Recommend to close?
John Everhart recommended to close the meeting. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, John and John. John E., made the motion. John H., seconded the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Okay, Darrell,
Yes.
John Everett,
Yes.
John Hott,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay. New business. Case number 2207, parcel 1936 Mentor Avenue, application for zoning amendment. The rezone 17 acres along Mentor Avenue between Chatham Drive to the southwest to Doan Avenue to the northeast, from restricted retail to B2 general retail. We
Mr.
have
Chairman?
with us the map showing it, so I will ask the,
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to clarify, it's 17 parcels.
17 parcels.
Parcels.
My bad. Parcels, thank you. Okay, speaking of the proposing that'll result in 17 parcels going from B1 to B2, general retail, staff report, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the trustees have observed a need to rezone a section of the Mentor Avenue corridor from B1 to B2 to accommodate transectional zoning. So we would be entering from Mentor, B1 zoning, which is our most limited commercial uses and least impactful, to B2, which would be a gradual increase in the types of uses permitted on the corridor, and then ending in B3. So the only change are the 17 parcels that are proposed to be located between the B1 and B3 district. The zoning commission is receiving this case tonight and setting for public hearing for the next regularly scheduled meeting in April.
Okay. And anything that would come to us if the rezoning was approved by the trustees, then the corridor would be in effect for that, for those new businesses, right? Am I correct?
Yes, so when you receive, you'll set for public hearing, make your recommendation to the trustees, they will then set for public hearing and make the final approval or denial of the application. If they do approve this proposal, then that would go into effect 30 days after their decision. Those 17 parcels would be rezoned to B2.
And this is coming from the trustees?
From the trustees, yes.
So this is what the trustees would desire?
Yes.
Okay. And I guess, what is the biggest, what's the difference really between the B1 and B2?
The biggest difference would probably be the permitted use of a gas station with convenience store, a car wash. I would have to look at our table of
Okay,
uses,
I'm
but
ju- I'm
I
just-
can answer that question at our public hearing. I'll make a note and I can
Okay,
answer
I just
that.
wanted to just kind of clarify what reason for, okay.
Mhm.
All right. I opened my mouth too much as usual.
It's
Any-
Oh,
easy to-
actually,
it's
Mr.
easy to
Chairman,
digress.
it's perfect because the follow-up case is actually changes the proposed
Okay.
uses within
All right,
those
well-
districts.
I'll save that question until next case. How about that?
There we go.
Anybody else have any questions on this rezoning of the 17 parcels for staff or anybody else, or for Jeremy? Okay, what we have to do now is, if we want to, is if we have enough information, we can set a public hearing for April 14th, which is our next meeting, for this rezoning.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, I'm sorry. April 7th?
11.
11.
Yeah.
I'm really screwed up today. Well, it's not unusual. Today wasn't a
It's
good day.
losing that hour, I'm telling you.
I know, it's the hour and everything. It's not been a great day for me today. I've
Do you need
been
a
messing up
motion
like
then
this.
to advertise for public hearing?
Okay, I will I need to entertain a motion for setting a public hearing for April 11th. Should know that's the day after my mother's birthday, so, April 11th.
So moved.
John made a motion, Daryl made a motion to have a separate public hearing for this case.
I'll second it.
John seconded it. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Okay, Daryl,
Yes.
John Everett,
Yes.
John Hott,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay. Case 2208 is a proposed amendment to the table of uses to B1, B2, B3 zoning districts. Now, I get to answer my questions the right way. So this is where we make the changes from the B1 to the B2. And yes, I see the biggest change is taking out automotive repair, taking out new vehicle dealerships, putting in hotel or motel, and also having a car wash automatic from B1 to B2. Gas station with convenience mart, I see. Veterinarian services. Funeral services. And recreational facilities club. And meeting halls, centers, banquet halls, bowling alley, interesting. And they took out adult-oriented businesses, wasn't in B1 either, so it was in B2. So, what is the, go ahead, Harley, go ahead, please.
So this application is sort of in conjunction with the previous, but not necessarily. The trustees, in reviewing our permitted uses in RB districts as they're trying to reform and recreate Manor Avenue with this new overlay district for the Western Reserve architecture and all of these other things that they're looking at doing to sort of focus on shaping and forming Painesville Township. They recognize that there is a need to change the permitted uses within our commercial districts. And the changes would be as followed. Hotels, motels would be a conditionally permitted use, added as, well, antique stores for one would be removed from the conditionally permitted use in B3. Reason being, it is an indoor retail establishment. So it's already permitted in the B1, B2, and B3 district above. Sort of singling them out this way isn't necessarily appropriate. So we're removing that stipulation from our table of uses. Hotel motels are a permitted use conditionally in our B1 district as it is, and understanding that B2 is more invasive uses, or more, not invasive rather, but impactful uses. The trustees see no reason as to why the hotels, motels cannot be conditionally permitted within the B2 district. We are removing vehicle dealerships altogether from our commercial districts, and they will be permitted uses in our industrial district, which you will see in the next application as it affects the list of permitted uses in industrial districts. In addition, automotive repair is more intensive type repair, engine replacement, etc. Those things the trustees would prefer to see in our industrial district as opposed to our commercial corridors. So they would be removing that and adding it in the next application. Recreational facilities clubs, this is another change made based on the previous argument that if it is conditionally permitted in B1, it should logically be conditionally permitted in B2. Meeting halls, centers, banquet halls, this is another that should be conditionally permitted, or logically, the way that the trustees see it, should be permitted in B2 as it is permitted in B1. The bowling alley change, I cannot recall what the logic was behind that, other than feeling that it was appropriate within the B2 district. And then adult-oriented businesses, this is another use that they would like to remove from our commercially zoned districts and have placed in our industrially zoned districts. And those are all the proposed changes to Section 22.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions from the commission to Harley? Hearing none, entertain a motion to set a public hearing for April 11, 2022 for this case.
Make a motion that we set that for a public hearing, April 11th.
Second that.
I hear a motion by John, second by John. Okay.
Which one is this one?
John, how,
No, what are we taking a public hearing on?
April 11,
No? What case?
case 08. We're talking about 08 right now.
Okay.
Any discussion on the motion? Set the public hearing? John? Okay, thank you. Didn't hear it. Sorry, Daryl. Is, a roll call, please.
Okay, John Everett,
Yes?
John Hott,
Yes.
Daryl,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay, case 2209ZC. Proposed amendment to change the list of permitted uses allowed within the I Industrial 1 zoning district. Staff report, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is, again, sort of an extension of the previous cases. This would be a change to the permitted uses in our light industry and manufacturing I-1 zoning district. We are adding automotive repair, new car sales with conditional use permit, and adult-oriented business in accordance with Section 25.14. I do need to add, in the previous case, I forgot to mention that there is a subsection within Section 22 that lays out all of the specific conditions and requirements as it relates to adult-oriented businesses. I redacted that from Section 22 and placed it within 25 under subsection 25.14. So you'll just see it's basically copy and pasted over from 22 to 25.
Okay. Anything else, Harley?
And that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Any discussion or questions for the staff for this zoning case of 2209?
I'll move approval of setting a public hearing for April 11th.
I would have a, thanks, Bill. I got a motion for a public hearing on this case to set it. I need a second.
I'll second it.
John seconded it. John E. Discussion? Roll call.
Okay, John Hott,
Yes.
Daryl,
Yes.
John Everett.
Yes.
And Chairman.
Yes. Okay, thank you. I finally got the dates right for a change, okay. Now,
It happens.
old business. Uh-oh. Drum roll, please. Okay, old business. This is the case 20 ZC07. Rewrite the sign section. We have with us, and I will let Harley discuss this. We have from Harley sent us some information for us to read, but I'll let her discuss it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Also, anyone in the room, if you happen to have a copy of this section with some scribbles and notes on it, I gave you my copy and I apologize for that, and I'll give you a clean copy if you want to trade. Most of my notes would probably be in a couple pages in or so. So, anyway, this is a portion of the sign regulations that Concord Township has in effect currently. what I've given you is just a portion. Now, I have gone through more of their sign section, which I would like to entertain mimicking. But to start with, this is their section, starting from 30.03. It talks about how to measure signs, and it provides illustrations. So when contractors or business owners are asking, what can I do? They can look at our section and see how to go about measuring signage and what our requirements are without being overly confused by verbiage that tries to explain what a picture can show. So I really like that aspect of their sign code, and I would love it if the commission would be interested in sort of adopting this, and including it in ours. So there's that, and then in 30.04 is when they start talking about the sign measurement requirements, or the minimum maximum sizes for signage. At the top of this page, 30.11, it has another illustration, which I am becoming more and more fond of illustrations as I'm looking through other people's code sections. But these illustrations very accurately show what we would expect frontage to be. So there would be no question if someone was coming forward saying, well, my building is sort of odd shaped. My building has frontage on 2 streets partially. How would we measure that, and how could I use multiple frontages? Another illustration showing that. Then we've got the sign measurement requirements. These are for residential districts, which are handy, but I think it's a little less common and probably not the best use of our time to spend discussing. However, it's definitely worth going over and developing thoughts or questions on as you guys review them. But on page 30.14 specifically, it talks about permanent signs in commercial districts. And it also says research districts. I believe that's the way that they define or title their industrial district. So I believe that's our industrial zone equivalent for them. But we can see here that they have these measurements, 1.5 square feet per linear foot, and then they include for additional bonus for larger setbacks. So these businesses, for primary frontage, they're permitted 1.5 square feet per lineal foot of frontage, or lineal foot of building frontage, of the actual building, rather. But if there's a large setback, and then they further define large setbacks, but if there's a large setback, they gain an additional 0.5 square foot. So they would then be permitted 2 square feet of signage for every lineal foot of frontage. And I just think that obviously the zoning commission needs to become better acquainted with their chart. But from my review of these requirements, they're very simple, easy to understand, and it would be something that I would like to see us implement. But obviously, at the end of the day, it's up to the commission as to whether or not you would like to go in this direction. And so I'm handing this out this evening to give the commission time to become more acquainted with just this portion of their sign regulations, and see what the general feedback is before pursuing this any further.
Okay, so you gave us some homework.
I sure did, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, it just looking at it from my standpoint versus what we had looking at it from before, just seeing the size of the signs, what we can do, it definitely looks like a lot easier. And then we can take a look at what we had before and kind of meld the two together. But I think it's a good start for getting something a little more simple that we can all, you can enforce, and they, being the public, can see exactly what we want, and it'll be easier to enforce. So I think that's a less gray area
Yes.
and arguments, potentially. Okay. Any questions from the board? And I'm assuming what you want us to do is look at this and have our comments to you for a future discussion next meeting,
Yes.
which
Mr.
is
Chairman.
4/11. Okay, thank you. Hearing no comments from the board, I'm not trying to rush. Okay, number 9. Address the disposition of any closed public hearings. We had 2 public hearings tonight. We closed them both. We have officially we have 30 days to make a recommendation to the trustees. The first public hearing that we closed was a request to amend section 8.01 to allow for up to 2 alternate members of the zoning commission, with each having a 5-year term. That is the recommendation, is what it is. So if any discussion on this closed public hearing, entertain a motion for recommendation for approval by the trustees as requested.
I will recommend.
Okay, I have a motion by,
Approval.
go ahead there.
That's it.
Yeah, to approve the recommendation to the board as requested.
Need a second on that? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I'm waiting for a second.
Okay, I'll wait with you.
Okay, Darrell made the motion to recommend approval as written. John seconded. Any discussion on the motion for recommendation to the trustees? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Okay, John Everett,
Yes.
John Hott,
Yes.
Darrell,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay, the other closed public hearing was case 2206. The recommendation is the request to amend section 9.03B, changing the existing alternate members' terms on the Board of Zoning Appeals from a 1-year term for the alternates to a 5-year term. That was is the request. And the recommendation to the trustees would be as requested, requested. So do I have a motion to recommend to the trustees for approval on this?
Can I make a recommendation?
Okay, I've got John E. or John H. made the motion, and this other John seconded the motion. I'm not sure who jumped up first.
No, he made the motion.
Oh, John E.
I'll
made the
second it.
motion,
Yeah.
I'll second
Need a
it.
and
second.
John H. seconded the motion. I gotta do it this way because it's John and John. Sorry about that.
You get confused.
When you're easily confused, it's what happens. Okay, so we have a motion any discussion on the motion to approve as requested? On this case, hearing none, roll call, please.
Okay, Darrell,
Yes.
John Everett,
Yes.
John Hott,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay. We have no items being held for public hearing. We have 3 going to next meeting. Zoning inspector's report.
I have nothing to add, Mr. Chairman, unless we're talking about 12. I'll wait till 12.
All right, we have no reports, so, okay, we'll go on to any business to come before the commission?
Mr. Chairman, Amy Cossack will no longer be on our zoning commission. Unfortunately, she was just too busy with all of the commissions and boards that she needed to be involved in with Fairport Harbor, so she will no longer be with us. She had given her resignation early enough for us to discuss with the trustees her resignation and the possibility of Mark Ruth's promotion into her seat. The trustees have decided to promote Mark into her seat. He's not voting this evening because they haven't passed the resolution yet. They will pass that tomorrow, and then he'll be a voting member. But in addition, with Amy's absence, she was our vice chair, so the zoning commission will need to appoint a new vice chairman for the zoning commission.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Chairman.
Amy is with us, this was her start of her second 5-year term. And Mark will be a real good replacement. We don't have a vice chair right now. So we can either think about it, what we want to do about it, and vote on a vice chair in next meeting, which is April 11th. I gotta keep saying it, I'll pay the 14th, I know I will. April 11th. And then we can vote on a vice chair tonight. It's the board's pleasure. I'm open to any way you want to go. I mean, I will be, God willing, I will be here at the April 11th meeting. I'm not leaving till the April 12th at 9 o'clock. Anyway, I will be here.
I have a question.
Go ahead, John.
Just as you were saying, Amy was starting her second 5-year.
She's in her second 5-year.
Okay, now, is the first appointment for a certain specific period of time?
No, they are each taking over their predecessors'
Term?
terms. So he's finishing out Bailey's
Okay.
and.
'Cause I don't think it was always like that, because sometimes it seems like we appointed for 1 year, and then they came in and appointed for like 2 or 3, and then maybe the next time was 5, but it was not always for the same amount of time.
So what, the terms, as I understand it, your terms are 5-year terms, even per ORC.
I think after you've been here for a while, they were always longer, but
Okay,
I'm not sure if that's in writing or whatever.
yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Okay, so this says that the terms are set by the trustees, but ultimately, the terms of the regular members shall be of such length and so arranged that the term of one member will expire each year. And so the trustees, the way that everyone's terms sit now, everyone has a term expiring each year. And so in order to maintain that expiration, when someone is appointed into a vacant seat,
Yeah,
they're
okay.
taking over
Okay.
the term of the person that had resigned,
Okay.
is the way that the trustees have me doing it now.
Yeah, well, it
So,
would work that way, so I would presume so. Although, you know, we've had people, and I'm thinking of Beth Nesbitt for one, and I think she only served one year maybe,
interesting.
or maybe 2.
Or if she was appointed into a vacant seat that only had 1 year or
Yeah,
2 years
that
left,
takes a little
because,
history, you have to go back and look for that, but I can't recall.
yeah, so, John, your appointment is up next year or the year after for Bailey?
That I'm not certain of. In fact, I was just about
Oh,
to
yeah,
ask you.
so I'll look at the list in there as we leave, it's on our wall. But, so John's appointment will be up in next year or the year after, where Mark's appointment, because he's taking over Amy's, he still has, I believe, 4 years left within that term that he's taking over. So maybe that's the fluctuation in terms as people came in and only served 1-year terms. I'm honestly not sure. To be honest, I'm just
Yeah.
assuming at this point.
Yeah.
I just know the way that the trustees are asking me to.
So I might be able to add one thing to that. Part of the reason that the terms probably differed is the ORC requires each person's term to end in successive years. So there's probably a situation where the way the terms were all set up, they needed to appoint somebody for 3 years so that it hit the right year, that kind of thing. So that's probably why they were different numbers of years.
Maybe.
When I first come on the zoning commission, I finished out a term by someone who was ahead of me. And then when that term was up, then they appointed me for a 5-year term. And they've all been 5-year terms after that.
Yeah, because,
And it's usually the proper way to do it.
yeah, I think that's what they do. I think that
Think
Mark will
that's-
go in, that whatever Bailey's, how much, because I know it is a 5-year term, 5 members, 5-year terms. Every year, the board appoints 1 member, either reappoints the existing member or appoints a new member for the board, the zoning commission. So, Mark would finish up Amy's term, and then John, you'd finish up Bailey's term, whatever term that would be, how many years it would be. I know I'm on my second 5-year, but I think I'm in year 2, I believe, I can't remember. I think Amy's just right after, I think Amy was appointed, but I don't recall.
Do
But
they auto
Charlie can
renew
find
at
it
the
out.
discretion of the trustees?
Yeah.
Yes.
You will be
They appoint us at
asked.
5-year terms.
Yeah, so you will be asked if you would like to renew for a 5-year term. And if you accepted, then the trustees would renew.
All right.
Okay.
So, anyway, so the famous thing where we're at right now is Amy was the vice chair. And it won't affect this meeting here, but if you want to wait until next meeting and talk about it among yourselves, that's fine. At that time, Mark will be a voting member and taking Amy's position as far as spot in the commission. And we can discuss that at the vice chairman at that point in time. Yeah, Mark?
More of a question of historically, is that a position that somebody who's been already comfortable, familiar with, would take over that vice chair position, or is there
So what are
rules?
those prerequisites?
Is there a prerequisite to
Yeah.
that process?
Ted was the vice president when I got sick.
We never really had
They did
to,
Rick.
we never really had to look at experience like this before, because we've always had people that were on for longer. And then we always relied upon our legal advisor too, if we had to, for certain
Yeah.
answers or questions too, so.
The vice chairman it really is like the vice president or whatever. The
And
chairman can't make it for
it has
a meeting.
smoothed, the operation, I think, has smoothed out since I used to do it, because I relied a lot more on the zoning inspector and the legal advice.
Yes.
And now it seems to be running more smoothly than what it did when I was chairman even.
And usually I'll usually, but for me, once I get something going, I'll either talk to one of the trustees, or I'll talk to Harley, or I'll talk to Jeremy if I have to. But in certain situations, but for the most part, the vice chair will run the meeting. The chairman's not there.
Just to say whether we had to do it tonight or next month, I was thinking maybe it might be a little bit more fair to let them think about it a little bit and.
Absolutely.
Mark can't vote tonight, so why don't we wait until
Yeah.
next month when he can?
So-
No, but I
I'm okay
would
with
be
that.
interested to
It's thinking
know
the same
if
thing.
you,
I would just bring
or
it up.
Daryl would do that.
No, I
Would be
understand
interested in
completely.
doing that.
I was just bringing it up to let you folks
Sure.
know, and that's up to and quite frankly, I don't make the motion. The motion is made up by the remainder of the board members.
Yeah.
So, to me, I just brought it up.
Because we could
So,
elect him
and
and he
think
wouldn't
about
have a vote, so.
Yeah, I realize that, but I'm just saying, what I'm saying is I just
Yeah,
bring it up,
defense-
let
I'm
the board,
defenseless.
let the board make a decision. And if the board's decision is to wait till next month, I am fine with that. I have no problem with that a bit.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably more prudent to do it that way.
I like
You know,
John East's idea, to take everything to next month. This way it gives Mark a chance to get oriented
Absolutely.
into her things. And you got questions, you can call.
Okay, but however, my question is really more simple. As it relates to process, Daryl, you and John, were like relative newies, so to speak.
Yeah.
You guys would seem like you'd have the right of first refusal and experience.
Exactly.
So that would be logical to me, and if you have an interest, I think that would be nice if you just said, I have an, I'll do it if you need it. And then we'll know if we gotta kick in one of us on the second level.
Well, I think that's why I think it's best to listen what John's, what
I got a
what John and John
question.
are talking about, and Daryl, and we just wait for another month. You guys, you folks think about it?
Yeah.
How you wanna handle it?
I think it's the best way,
What, does that mean you're punting?
no,
No,
just
just
that
asking.
we
Just
want to
kicking the
make
can
sure
down
that
the
you're
road for a month.
appointed, that you have at least some kind of background to
A
work with.
date that we
Yes.
know.
I like it that way better.
Question
Yeah,
for
yeah,
you.
I can
You
actually
don't have to
provide
do
you
it
all a
tonight,
copy.
but-
Let's say we have a meeting, that the vice chair and the chair can't be here, but we still have a quorum.
Yeah.
Is that when you elect a President Pro Tem?
Because if we elect somebody.
Yeah,
Is that
that would be,
appropriate?
that would be appropriate for that.
Okay.
And you,
I thought
because if
that's
you
the
still
way it
have a
was.
quorum, you can still vote.
But I wanted to ask the question.
Yep.
Definitely more over here for June. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll just, we'll ponder it for next month, and then that's what we'll do. So any other further business become before the commission?
Question.
Raise your,
Are we tabling it or continuing it?
what?
Yes.
We don't have no really motion on it. All we know that
Table.
Amy resigned, and we're not gonna do anything with the vice chairman until next month.
Okay, I have one more comment if
Go ahead.
it's allowed. And I'm asking again historically. Amy had provided 5+ years. Do you guys do any kind of a resolution from the board in appreciation for Amy's, past duty? Is that a standard rule because she's an outgoing board member with good service? Do you do anything special?
Sometimes if they're here, we would do it, but
Okay.
it's.
That would be
I think the-
appropriate and not
The
mine.
trustees would be more.
If I were
appropriate.
voting, I would make
Yeah,
a
I don't
motion to
believe-
make a
Trustees are the
resolution.
ones that usually do it.
Yeah, I don't believe the commission
Okay.
has the,
Trustees usually
the
do it,
power
because
to.
they're
the ones
If
Yeah.
we
pass
do it
a
as purely gratis of
So
ourselves.
it's the actual board.
It's the board of trustees.
Yeah,
You
they
could
can't-
recommend,
enough.
you could recommend to the trustees to do a resolution.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can recommend that.
Yeah,
And we can voice our approval for that to Carly and let the board know that, and we'll go from there. All right? Any other questions or to come before the board? Hearing none. Next meeting is April 11th, 2022. And I'll close the meeting at 7:22 for 2022. I wanted to do it on 14, so it'd be Pi Day, you know? Today is Pi Day.